Hello, beautiful people. Today is 31st of July. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today into the GS folder we'll see a quote from Henry Kissinger, who served as the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor for the USA. He says that moral prescriptions without concern for equilibrium tend towards crusades. Now, guys, crusades were the holy war or the religious wars which were fought during the medieval ages, and they were also called as the just wars. So, guys, it is being said that moral prescriptions, ethical prescriptions, democratic prescriptions, or preachings or values will be taught without bringing the balance into the society, then it will end up into a kind of justified war. I will give you one example. So in 1950, we adopted the Constitution of India, and in that Constitution, various moral prescriptions were given. For example, the dignity of the people will be recognized, they will be given the fundamental rights, natural justice will be given. But that thing was recognized into the letter but not into the spirit. We preached the moral prescription, but we failed to bring the balance or the equitable growth for the tribals living into the central India. And today we see that a red corridor has developed and left wing extremism has been developed into those regions, and tribals are showing the support. Why? Because you preached the moral prescriptions, but equilibrium, equality, or the balance was not made. Their growth was not ensured, and now they are fighting a crusade or a holy war against the state and believe that state is unjustified. So guys, a very powerful and meaningful quote into the today's context. Please use it in GS paper number 3 internal security, as well as onto the questions of GS paper number 4 ethics, and even into the essay this particular thing can be utilized. Now guys, the main question for yesterday, it says that what do you understand by cyberspace? Explain the necessity of stakeholder engagement to check the challenges that cyberspace is facing. Now, our introduction will be the definition or the explanation of the cyberspace, and body will be this second part. So, cyberspace is a virtual space, perceived space, or notional space in which the communication by computer networks, etc., takes place. Now, guys, cyberspace happens to be an intrinsic part of the modern life because of the reliance over the internet and connected technologies into the 21st century. And as we see that all the critical infrastructure is dependent onto the internet, the security of cyberspace is also very much critical. Now, guys, though cyberspace is a one monolith, but the physical barriers have been installed by the virtue of a country-specific legislation and by the control over the physical infrastructure by different countries, which creates the cyber space. So, what we need that different sectoral units, different governments should come together as different stakeholders in a single umbrella, so that entire blanket of the cyberspace can be safeguarded. So guys, when we talk about bringing different stakeholders together, we can bring together them under the United Nations umbrella. We had seen into the yesterday's article that there have been 6 group of government expert conventions, and out of the 6, in 5 India had participated. And this is an example of stakeholder engagement where different stakeholders are coming together. Moreover, guys, there has also been open-ended working group which has started just last year, and on this particular thing also the stakeholder engagement is going on. Moreover, guys, there is also one more example, as UN Charter has also been now extended to the cyberspace, and as different parties are there which are signatory to the UN Charter, so again stakeholder engagement can be seen here. But guys, the issue is that on real grounds no particular success has been achieved, and even these GGEs and these OEWGs have not came out with a specific mandate. Very vaguely termed responsibilities for the cyberspace has been framed. And guys, if only such generalistic parameters will be there, then we know that vulnerabilities of cyberspace are unprecedented for the government as well as for the non-state actors. We had seen the increase into the ransomware attacks, DDoS attacks, hacking, etc. And these things can cripple the entire digital economy. So guys, this is the broad thinking framework on which you need to write. So that's it guys, and now let's take the newspaper analysis. Now, guys, first of all, before taking today's newspaper overview, I would like to clarify one thing. Yesterday, we take an article in which United Nation Covenant on Civil and Political Rights was mentioned. Guys, here under article number 21, the right to protest has been given as a fundamental right. Now, right to protest is also given under Indian Constitution under article number 19, but by mistake it was mentioned as article number 21. So guys, it is a clarification that in Indian Constitution article 19 and under the United Nations Covenant on Civil and Political Rights it is article number 21. So just a clarification from my side. I hope you will understand this guys. And now let's take today's newspaper overview. Guys, first news here is with respect to the COVID 19. India has reached the fifth spot into the world. Guys, not important for UPSC exams. Moreover, these positions will change in every 5 7 days. So, nothing here to see. Then, guys, political news, not important for our exam. Priest tested positive for COVID 19, not important for our exam. So, actually, nothing important on page number 1. Then, guys, onto the city page also, you can see that nothing important news articles have been given. Below also you can see that nothing important has been given. And therefore guys, onto the next page is also nothing important COVID and regional news etc has been given, which is not relevant. Then guys, here also you can see that nothing important has been given, and the same things goes on to the west page also. Nothing important news has been given with respect to our exam. So guys, directly we need to jump onto the editorial page today. This first editorial talks about the constitutional crisis in Rajasthan. So guys, all the issues here have been summarized. So we'll see the entire culmination of the issues which are involved. Then guys, this particular article and below this particular article is talking about the provisions of the new education policy 2020. And as I had said yesterday that I will be bringing a specific and a separate comprehensive this video on this. That video I had prepared, I will upload today, and all these points are already included, so you just need to see that video. Moreover, I had also prepared a separate PDF for this NEP. You can see also that thing. Then guys, serological report of COVID-19, not important because these data will be changing. Now guys, this article talks about the telecom sector. Very good article, directly usable for infrastructure in GS paper number 3. Then guys, moving forward, time to open the gyms. So guys, just we'll be seeing that what are the problems with respect to the confined spaces. So we'll be seeing this thing. Then guys, here Railways has now put a hold on all the non-safety work. Just that's it, one liner thing. Why? Because there is no fund, because the railways have been shut down for last 3 4 months, so there is no money to go on to the non-safety work such as increasing the amenities for the users and all that kind of thing. There is a flip side that user experience will be going down, but we can't do anything here. Then guys, moving forward, so, Chinese envoy had said that clarifying LAC will open more disputes. Now, guys, you don't need to see such kind of day-to-day commentary by the political leaders. If some declaration or some understanding will be coming, only that you need to see for your exam. Then, guys, here we can see that nothing important has been given which could be asked for our exam. Then here it has been said that India has a key vaccine role. So, guys, Trump's advisor had said that because of India's manufacturing capabilities into the generic drugs, India will play an important role. So, just a one liner concept has been given here, nothing important. Then, guys, Supreme Court is apprehensive in the treatment which is being given to the animals. It wants to safeguard both animal as well as crop. So, we'll be seeing what has been given here. Then, guys, moving forward, people are now eating less because they need to cope up with the crisis. So guys, we'll see certain things here. Then guys, the shadow pandemic will be seeing here. After that guys, moving forward, showcase not important for our exam. Then guys, onto the world page, we can see that nothing important has been given. See, into this news item, China is conducting the drill in South China Sea. Guys, every other day China is doing same thing. So it is a very much repetitive thing, not at all important. You can safely leave this thing. So guys, here Gandhi King initiative has been mentioned. We'll see that thing, what is there. Then corporate news, etc. not anyhow important for our exam. Then the sports page, again here we can see that nothing important has been given here. So guys, very few relevant news are there today, and now let's quickly go to the newspaper analysis in detail. Now, starting up, friends, this particular article talks about the constitutional crisis that is going on in Rajasthan. So, by the help of this article, we will conclude the all issues which had happened here. Now, in Rajasthan, two type of controversies occurred. First was some controversy related to the anti-defection law, and other was the controversy related to the governor's role in convening the session. And one by one, both of them we will be looking to. Now, guys, see, the controversy in Rajasthan started when 19 MLAs led by Sachin Pilot, they continuously did not attended the meetings of the Congress Legislative Party. Guys, reminders were sent to them, but still they did not attended, and finally they lodged into a resort in Haryana. And due to all these events, it was assumed that the MLAs are going rebel. So what happened? Speaker issued a notice, that is a show cause notice, asking them that why they should not be disqualified, they should present their arguments. Now guys, because of this particular notice, these MLAs approached the Rajasthan High Court. And guys, actually, two type of episodes occurred here, though they were one, but for better understanding, we will categorize them. So first of all, these MLAs said that this notice is invalid or void. Why? Because till now the MLAs have not defected from the party, and because they have not defected, they should not be served the notice with respect to the disqualification under ADL. Now, friends, the challenge that was made by the Rajasthan MLAs to the notice of the speaker, that challenge here it is being said it is unconstitutional and void. Why? Because guys, when the anti-defection law was passed in 1985, that at that point of time, Lok Sabha rules were also framed, which concerned that how the anti-defection law will be operated. And guys, these Lok Sabha rules have been since then adopted by the different state legislature. So the actual working of the anti-defection law occurs by the help of these rules. Now guys, here there is rule number 6 which we need to see. So under rule number 6, it has been said that if a member believes that a case of defection is going on, then he can file a petition. So guys, the person who is filing the petition, he becomes the petitioner. But before filing the petition, the petitioner needs to make him satisfy that there is actual evidence that the defection in reality is going on. So guys, if he has that evidence and if he is satisfied, then he can give the petition to the speaker. Now here the speaker will ask the petitioner that do you have the evidence that actual defection is going on? And guys, here speaker need not to look whether the evidence is right or wrong, legitimate or illegitimate. He only need to see whether the evidence is having or not. And after that, under rule number 7, the speaker will give the petition which has been filed to the member who was concerned or who was charged of the defection, and the member will be asked to give his comments or to present his case before the speaker, and then the case will be heard, and finally the speaker will be giving the decision. So now guys, into the Rajasthan episode, this notice which has been given by the speaker to the members is being questioned, and is being said that it is void or invalid. But how it could be invalid if it is being given as per the rules of the ADL? Moreover, into the Kyoto Holohan case of 1992, Supreme Court said that until the final decision is not taken by the speaker, no challenge can be raised. And guys, here the speaker has not yet taken any final decision. So guys, this A point here, it doesn't stand the ground. Then guys, after that particular thing, a new set of grounds come. It was said that they are challenging the notice because the entire paragraph 2 subclause 1 subclause A is not valid. Now paragraph number 2 discusses the grounds of the disqualification, and paragraph 2 subclause 1 subclause A says that if a member voluntarily gives the membership of the political party on which he was elected, then he is subjected to the disqualification. Now, guys, here the MLAs of Rajasthan who are under the question for disqualification, they have said that whenever they will say anything which is against their political line or their party line, they will be charged that they are trying to voluntarily give the membership, and then they will be disqualified. So they said that this entire clause is invalid because it takes the freedom of speech and expression. Now guys, the question comes that just to prove their case, now the MLAs of Rajasthan, they are pointing the nitty gritties, and there is no substance into their case. It has been said that if paragraph 2 might be having a problem, then on some separate instance its validity would have been questioned. And now when the entire issue is going on, how out of the blue they are bringing the paragraph 2's validity? So guys, these grounds are not as substantiated, and just to prove their point they are bringing the unnecessary things here. Now, guys, if you remember, in the start, I told you that there were two issues in Rajasthan. First was the issue with respect to the ADL, which we had seen here, and the second was the issue with respect to the governor's role in convening the session. So now briefly we will see the issues with respect to the governor. So guys, when this entire political drama was going on, their chief minister and the cabinet, they asked the governor that the house should be convened, and there they will establish a trust vote and will prove their majority. Earlier governor was apprehensive because it was being said that under article number 163, governor has been given a discretionary power, and he said that he will use his discretionary power and will decide that when the house should be convened or when the house should be summoned, and he will not listen to the cabinet. Then guys, a Supreme Court judgment came handy here. That was the Nebam Raji Rabia judgment, where the Supreme Court said that the discretionary power of a governor can only be exercised into certain subordinate and petty matters, and with respect to important issues such as summoning, etc., governor cannot use his discretionary power. So guys, finally governor said that okay, house will be summoned, but he said that between summoning of the house and actual commencement of the house, there needs to be a 21-day gap. Guys, just to avoid the confrontation, the chief minister, the cabinet council of minister accepted this particular thing, and they said that okay, after 21 day they will commence the house. But guys, again an issue comes that how governor can dictate this 21-day limit, or actually by dictating this 21-day limit, ultimately governor use his own discretion with respect to the actual commencement of the house. So there's an argument that governor is simply doing this thing to set an example that ultimate say is of the governor. But guys, again it will go against the precedence of the Nebam Rabia judgment. So guys, it is being said that when the center government and the state government are from different political parties, governor is often used as a tool to have a strong hold onto the ruling government of a state which hails from some opposite political party. So friends, this is the entire culmination of all the issues which were involved here. That's it, and now we'll move to next. Now guys, this article is a moderated discussion onto the telecom sector and the issues associated with this. So the telecom sector in India saw a boom, and the tele density or number of the users using the telecom services increased substantially, particularly after the 2000. And it was the major result because in 1999 the telecom users were given a policy change, and now telecom users and government came in an agreement which was called as revenue sharing agreement or pay as you go agreement. Now guys, here whatever revenue will be generated, the a part will be given to the government. We will be coming again back on this particular topic. And as of now, we are having nearly 66 crore mobile broadband users, and the overall tele density according to the TRAI is 117 crore in India. Now, by seeing all these figures, we can see that the growth of telecom sector has been impressive into the past few years. But now, guys, there are certain challenges also which are emerging in this particular sector. First of all, the most newest challenge which has came is that, guys, first time in so many years, the tele density is not increasing at the number which it used to grow, because into the past few months, due to the COVID-19 reverse migration, there are the economic stress and so many people have surrendered their SIM cards, so the tele density growth has been very low. After that, guys, when we are talking about the density, then see here, the mobile broadband density is still very low, nearly 66 crore. Now, if we also see the data of the number of users using the fixed broadband services, then they are 19 million. So guys, this data is still very much low when we see the overall tele density in India. So guys, still there is a digital divide. Still far less number of people are using the mobile broadband or the fixed broadband, and this is the thing when the work from home, distant education, telemedicine, etc. are becoming the new normal. So guys, there is need that the broadband connectivity needs to be given to the more people. Now, the second challenge with respect to the telecom sector is with respect to the fiscal health. And in the fiscal health, the most important issue is of the AGR, that is the adjusted gross revenue. Now, guys, to understand this particular topic, if you remember, I told you in 1999 there was a change into the policy where the revenue sharing came. Now, there is actually the differences that what is the revenue which is to be shared by the telcos to the government. So, guys, the government says that all the revenues are to be shared to the government. That is the core revenue which is coming from the mobile, as well as other revenue also which they are earning, for example, by selling their assets or other type of profit by from other activities also. But the telcos, they say that no, only we will share the core revenue that is coming from the mobile services. And guys, for this particular thing, the matter went for the litigation, and in 2015, Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal ruled into the favor of telcos and said that yes, you need to share only the core revenue with the government. But guys, government did not stop here. Government appealed this particular matter into the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court ruled into the favor of government, and Supreme Court directed that the telcos need to pay back the entire revenue of the core as well as a non-core along with the interest rate. Now guys, the issue here is that so much amount is slapped. More than 1 lakh crore rupees are to be given by the telcos to the government, and it will substantially impact the fiscal viability. And guys, the companies such as Vodafone, they need to pay the charges more than 57,000 crore rupees, and in these circumstances there could even be a possibility that Vodafone might exit the Indian market. And guys, from here even one more problem will start, and that problem will be that a kind of a oligopoly will start in India, where there will be only 2 3 players into the telecom sector, and they will dictate their terms and condition to the consumers. Guys, see, if there are more number of players, then a kind of a perfect competition can be there, and in that perfect competition, consumer will be the ultimate benefactor. But now, if such a kind of a trend starts, and if there will be only 2 and 3 corporates, then the benefits for the consumers will get limited. And now, guys, from here, other issues will also develop. See, we had seen that the financial health is actually very much problematic of the telcos. So, what could be the thing? First of all, either the Department of Telecommunication should roll back their decision to ask the AGR charges from the telcos. So, guys, there could be a respite onto their health. Second thing is that there is other possibility also, that is increasing the average revenue per user. And in India, we know that it is very much low, substantially because of the entry of the Geo, which changed the entire dynamics. Now, guys, how Geo changed the dynamics? Number one, with respect to the services it is being offered, Geo provided very cheap services, and because to match the prices of Geo, other telcos also had to reduce their prices. Then, guys, second is that Geo played onto the bandwidth of the mobile data or the internet data. And guys, if we see the present trend, then into the past few years, 43 times the mobile data consumption has been increased in last only 3 years. Now average user is consuming nearly 10 GB data per month. And how it is possible? Because of the subsidized mobile data provided by the Geo. And guys, the problem doesn't ends only here. because of the subsidized mobile data which is offering, which is now even Geo and other companies are offering. Now the consumers had also switched to the mobile data for all the services, even for making the calls international as well as domestic. They are using the mobile data, and therefore the tariff which is coming from the voice call or the switch calls, it has also reduced. And guys, again, the profitability or the revenue of the telcos have been reduced. So right now there is high time that the telcos need to go for increasing the average revenue per user, but it is also not a possibility because there is a free market competition. And when Geo initially came into the market, at that point of time, Try did not said anything with respect to the Geo's aggressive policies, and guys, now the returning is very weak. So I believe that Department of Telecommunication should actively be taking a stand here. Now, guys, these are the issues, and after this particular issue, we go to another dimension, that is the 5G, which is the coming future into the telco industry. So 5G technology holds a greater potential because it is not only the bandwidth of high speed, rather it is about the ecosystem. See, for example, we take example of the telemedicine. Now telemedicine involve a lot of other components also which can make it more effective. For example, rather than just the streaming, online streaming, if we also integrate the internet of things, that a doctor might operate the devices hundreds and thousands of kilometers away just by the virtual mechanism, then it is called as ecosystem. And guys, when such ecosystems could be provided by the 5G, and in helping to develop the components of ecosystems, the telcos can play an important role. So guys, the 5G will not only be bringing the benefit for consumers but also for the telcos, but there are certain issues. See, the first issue is with respect to the spectrum allocation, and we have a very bad history with respect to the allocation of the spectrum, because India follows a policy of the reserve price. That is, suppose last year the spectrum was sold for 100 crore rupees. So for next year, the reserve price will be the 100 crore, and only beyond this you need to bid, and this substantially increases the price. And guys, because of this, 700 megahertz spectrum is unsold for last 4 years, and in greed of earning more, government has not earned even a single penny from this thing. So guys, with respect to the spectrum allocation, government needs to reform its policies so that it can benefit both the 5G operators as well as government. Secondly, guys, now when we're talking about the 5G, the thing is that whose technology for 5G is needed to be adopted. First is the European technology, which has been perfected by the Nokia. One is Nokia and another is the Ericsson. Second is the China's, and China's technology has been perfected by the Huawei and the ZTE. So there are three competitors, and now we should go in whose favor. That is a question. Moreover, after coming with the 5G, there are also bigger questions such as the interoperability between the different networks, between the different telco providers. So we need to bring the telcos also onto the board. So guys, all these issues are there which we need to solve before that. And a final and a bigger question also comes, that shouldn't we explore perfecting the 4G before going into the 5G? Shouldn't we exploit it at its maximum potential before going into the 5G? So guys, these are certain of the issues onto the telecom sector. And guys, as you know that in GS paper number 3, explicitly the topic of infrastructure has been written for. So for that thing, all these issues are very important. That's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular article talks about the rationale of the Unlock 3.0, where government had said that the yoga centers and the gymnasiums can open. Now, guys, a question has been raised onto the logic of this particular step, because at the same time cinema halls, coaching centers, etc. have not been opened, because of the logic that these are the closed spaces and might help assist into increasing the number of COVID-19 cases. Now guys, opening of gym, though it is justified onto the ground that WHO itself says that every day 30-minute workout is actually beneficial to increase the immunity, But the vulnerability associated with the nature of gyms is such that this tiny benefit is not substantial. Now, guys, if we see a typical gym, then they are situated into the closed spaces and they are very tightly confined, due to which there is the poor ventilation. Moreover, a person going into the gym typically spends 30 minutes to 60 minutes into the gym, which shows that there are the long durations in which the people will be staying. Moreover, due to heavy workout, people are involved here into the deep breathing exercise. And guys, it has problem on two fronts. First of all, the person who's exhaling, due to the force, his tiny particles or aerosols which he is releasing might be going into the larger area. And secondly, the person who's inhaling, he might be taking the aerosols deep into the lung. And if even one person is infected into the entire surrounding, then guys, there is a potential threat that the infection will be very much large. Moreover, earlier into the February and March, there are ample examples from the South Korea and Japan that people into the confined places, when they were exposed for longer times, they were more vulnerable, and therefore opening of gyms also is not justified. Now, guys, further see, the social distancing also will not be possible into the gym, because these are very tightly packed and people often are waiting to take their turns onto the exercise equipment. So, guys, therefore the decision to open the gym into the present times is not justified on any grounds. So, guys, that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular article we will see into the light of GS paper number 4, ethics. So, guys, Supreme Court is looking into the matters of conserving both animal as well as crops. Now, what is actually happening? So, in India, we have the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which aims at the conservation of animal. Now, guys, the animals such as the tiger, the lion, the elephant, they have been given adequate protection, but at the same time, certain animals are declared as vermin. Now, vermin are those animals species which are a nuisance to the agriculture, and it provides that there could be the systematic culling or the killing or termination of such vermins. And the boars, etc., have been declared vermins in some of the state because they destroy the agricultural crops, and therefore thus they are the nuisance. Now, guys, vermins are state specific. Moreover, under the Wildlife Protection Act section number 62, if a state wants, then it can prepare its list of vermins and can give it to the center government, and center government after that can declare it as a vermin, and the culling of that particular animal could be allowed. Now, if you remember, few days back in Kerala, one elephant died because she ate the pineapples laced with explosives, and now those pineapples were kept by certain farmers to shoo away the vermins. But as accidentally it was eaten by the elephant, it was died, whose one of the most prized possession and significant protection are given to it under the Wildlife Protection Act. So now Supreme Court is exploring that how the crops can be conserved from the vermin attack, but at the same time there is not a need to kill them vermin. Rather, there could be a way by which they could be frightened. So Chief Justice of India had said that there could be the use of explosive that do not kill but make noise, and rubber bullets can be used to scare off the vermin. So, guys, in this particular directions, options are being explored. So actually it happens to be an ethical consideration, guys, because the planet or the nature was not only made for the human survival, it was made for human as well as animals. And just because human can do something, it is not actually ethical to actually use that power which has been bestowed. So that is the issue which is given here. And now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here we can see that the pandemic is not only proving to be a health disaster and economic disaster, but it also is becoming a nutrition disaster. Because, guys, according to a survey, people are eating far less to cope up the crisis, and here a case study has been made into the Odisha. So, guys, according to a survey which has been carried, right now more than 54% families are eating less in order to cope up the food. They are fearful that if they will eat more, they will run out of cash. Whereas guys, 69% people had to borrow the money in order to buy the food items, and nearly 30% of people are going hungry for one or more days. Therefore guys, it is being said that the social security transfers or the cash transfers that are being given to the people, they are inadequate and government's intervention is needed. Moreover, if you remember, just a couple of days back we had seen the Sophie report on nutrition, according to which the people in India as well as South Asia are finding it very hard to afford the food. And now, guys, if we collect some extra point from the articles that we had seen over days, there could be a lot of solutions which you can provide. For example, you can provide that the state canteens onto the model of the Amma canteen of Tamil Nadu, Indira canteen of Karnataka. The state governments should start with the food canteens where the subsidized foods can be given. Secondly, the scope of National Food Security Act could be enhanced to cover all the people, and the conditionalities should not be imposed here. After that, guys, it is also being said that the requirement of ration cards under the National Food Security Act should also be done away with. Moreover, we had seen that the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana had been extended by government, but still there are no components which can provide the full-fledged healthy diet. So the basket of food should also needed to be expanded here. So guys, in this particular direction, these certain reforms could be suggested so that such kind of things are not seen. Now, friends, in this particular news item, we will find a reference which we can use into the women abuse related issues. So, guys, a study was published into the National Bureau of Economic Research, and according to the study, it has been said that into the past few days, the red zones where the lockdown was enforced very strictly, there was a huge number of the domestic abuse as well as physical abuse of the women. And at the same time, into the red zones, it was also seen that the instances of the rape, molestation are very much reduced. So guys, it has been seen that the patriarchal mindset which was earlier causing the violence and assault onto the streets into the way of rape, now these people are committing the similar kind of crimes into their household onto the women's of the family. So guys, first of all, it there is a concept which is coming here, that is the shadow pandemic, which means that women are silently suffering due to the lockdown because now they are more confined, and onto the whims of the male member they are facing the miseries as well as physical abuse. So guys, in this particular direction we can use the reference of the NBER. Just please keep it in your mind. However guys, the sample size, the date of sample, all these kind of things are not important for our exam. Just the broad trend we need to see here. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now guys, see, we can use this article into the questions related to the soft power of India. So soft power is opposed to the hard power. It means that the culture, value, traditions which attract the people towards a particular country. And in this soft power, the traditions such as yoga, the rich classical music, the historical sites as well as personalities hold a great importance. And so is Mahatma Gandhi's legacy. So guys, in USA, a bill has been raised which calls for the starting of Gandhi King initiative. Now guys, King stands for Martin Luther King Jr., who was one of the most prominent civil rights activist into the USA, and he also propagated the philosophies of ahimsa like Mahatma Gandhi. So now under the initiative, it is being said that a student exchange program between the India and USA, so that students can travel to each other's countries and can see the sites, legacies and histories associated with the respective leaders. Now guys, such kind of initiative will enhance the cooperation between the two countries, and as Gandhiji's values are involved here, it is a substantial enhancement into the India's soft power and Gandhian values. Moreover, there is also suggestion to start the Gandhi King Global Academy, which will be a conflict resolution initiative which will be based on to the principles of non-violence, that is ahimsa. So guys, these are some of the very good developments which are coming into this particular direction. So nitty-gritties are not needed to be seen that where the will has been reached, rather just as a reference we can use it to show as how India is performing in on its soft power regime. So that's it, and now we'll move to the question section. Friends, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So question number 1 is with respect to the Budapest Convention. Please identify the right option. Question number 2 is with respect to the Vembanad Lake. Please read the statement and identify the correct code. Question number 3 is with respect to the Natasha idol. Please identify the right option. Question number 4 is with respect to the ecosystem integrity. Please read the statement and identify the correct one. And now friends, today's main question, it is from GS paper number 3 and it is a 15 marker question from the infrastructure section. So it says that telecom sector is one of the most crucial component of infrastructural backbone of India, but still adequate attention has not been given to it and it faces various systemic challenges. Comment. So guys, please write on it, and into the next class we will see the framework of this entire question. So that's it guys. I hope you are liking our discussion. Thank you so much.